Hey people! In the last video we looked at my personal warm-up, which pretty reliably brings me into the perfect state of mind to play a show. And I also said that I believe, and I still believe, that you can optimize every detail of the show. Not just the show itself, but all the surroundings and preparation. There are many things which are pretty valuable if you optimize them, some which you don't initially think about. But in this video we want to look at the other side, because there are some problems if you try to control everything. First of all, let me tell you, this is my personal experience and this concerns my personal situation. But if you maybe feel the same way, then maybe my approach might help you. Because I struggled a lot, and the main problem for me was that sometimes I felt like a whole nother person on stage compared to the day before. Maybe I played a very bad show and I felt like an idiot, felt like a beginner yesterday, and today I played a wonderful show, which is great. It's even worse the other way around, when yesterday I played an amazing show and today I want to do the same, and yeah, it feels like slipping through my hands and I feel like an imposter. And maybe you know that. If you have experienced this yourself, this video is for you, because I found some tips, tricks and methods how to solve this problem. I asked some drummer colleagues of mine who also play with professional bands and tour a lot if they have experienced this, and none of them did. This shows that this is a very specific problem and has a lot to do with my own personality. Because by now I know about myself that I am a very extreme personality, that over the course of just a few days I feel like going through different personalities, totally different personalities, different mindsets, and my feelings fluctuate a lot. And if you accept yourself, then this is totally fine. But on tour, I of course have to deliver a reliable quality of my playing and reliable interaction with all the people who are on tour, with the technicians and my bandmates. And knowing this about myself was the first step to solving the problem, because if you realize that your feelings fluctuate, you don't have to be too attached if you feel a certain way. So if I feel really good, I just enjoy it, and I know that tomorrow might not be as good. And if I feel really bad and I think I can't play at all and this is the worst show I ever played and I shouldn't be allowed to be on this stage, then I know that it's probably not that bad and that tomorrow it will look much better again. Because we all know this effect, that the assessments of the quality of a show divert a lot. That if you feel really bad, someone else might have found it an amazing show, one of the best shows ever. I have encountered this myself. But of course, the goal is to feel good and play good, and to know when you play good. So the first step for me was not to be too attached. And what helped me a lot is mindfulness. I do mindfulness meditation, as probably some of you do as well, and this helped me a lot. And mindfulness teaches this approach that you just observe your feelings. You don't feel too attached to them, and that's a very healthy thing to do, because our feelings come and go. Then we shouldn't feel attached to them, and we should have a little bit of distance towards it. And then you see it much more from a bird's eye view, and you see the context. And this gives you a more realistic view on things. Feelings change, but your feelings are not your personality. My feelings change rapidly and sometimes extremely, but my personality stays the same. And if you learn to observe your feelings and how they change, you can stay calm and centered within yourself. So we shouldn't be attached to our feelings and also to the surroundings. I believe that you can control and optimize many more aspects of making music than many people think. But the problem is that, especially on tour, you can't control the surroundings. And you won't always have the best situation at hand. Even if you play in a real big band, a real famous band, even very famous musicians don't always get what they want. They have to deal with jet lag and still have to play a reliable performance. So I expand this viewpoint of not being too attached to my feelings to the surroundings. I don't try to control the surroundings anymore. I had a plan in mind what I wanted to do before a show, and I wanted to do everything, tick off everything on my to-do list, and then I would play the perfect show. And the problem was, it worked, but only if the surroundings were perfect. If I had everything I wanted, then I would play a good show, at least in my opinion. But when I wasn't able to do everything on my list, then I felt it would be a bad show, and yeah, it sometimes was a bad show. When you try to control everything, you make yourself dependent of the circumstances. But you can control the circumstances. So why not try not to control the circumstances at all? I know what works for me, but if I am not able to execute everything, it's fine. I know that I'm still able to play a good show, especially if I prepare at home. What helps me a lot is good preparation, very good preparation in detail in my studio, and then on tour, on stage, forget about this and just let it flow and not try to control on stage. There's a great quote from the book Effortless Mastery by Kenny Werner, which is a must-have for every musician in my opinion. And he said, "I don't want to be attached to this performance, so the next one can be good too." So you should forget good shows and why those shows were good. It wasn't the circumstances, it was rather the mindset. There's a great anecdote in the book to illustrate this, but I don't have to tell you that anecdote. I can tell you one of my own, which is pretty much the same. We played on a festival and set up our gear behind the stage while the other band was still playing. And then there was a thunderstorm, everybody abandoned the field, and everything on stage was wet, and we didn't know if we were about to play or not. But we still set up our gear, and the band then finished, the other band, but they took very long to clear the stage, and we had half an hour of changeover time, and this went on for 70 minutes, and we didn't know if we would play. And I had warmed up. By then I was already cooled down again, and we were really annoyed because the other band took so long. And then I said, well, all this preparation for what? Now I'm not able to play a good show anymore because those guys and the circumstances and the weather took it away from me. So I said, what the heck, doesn't matter anymore. Yeah. And this was the best thing to happen to me, because in the end we did play the show, albeit with some delay, but it was great that I didn't force it anymore, and that I abandoned all my high expectations of myself and the show. And it was an amazing show because I did not try to force it. And in the end, all the people came back, and we had several hundred people in front of the stage. And from that moment on, I abandoned the mindset of trying to control everything and forcing it on stage, while still preparing very thoroughly at home. But now I, of course, expect from myself and the circumstances that I play a good show if I follow this mindset. It's not easy to abandon this this control mindset. It's a process, of course. Whenever I find myself trying to control everything, I do something which is very popular in mindfulness. I try to get my focus on anything but myself. There's a great for this, it's called abandon. We have a word in German which is translated means self-forgetfulness. You forget about yourself at all. Maybe you know this state of mind from practicing. It's the famous flow state, where you forget about yourself and the surroundings and you are immersed in whatever you do. And if I am too concerned with myself, then, especially on stage, then I try to focus on anything else. What helps at first is to focus on a very specific thing, like on the bass line or on the lyrics, or a little more abstract on the form of the song. And after a while I find myself dissolving into the music. I just hear the music. And it's very important not to think about hands and feet but about sounds. I don't think about I want to hit this cymbal with this hand, but I want to hear that sound. This is a mindset which helps a lot in practicing as well, and is very well described in the amazing book, The Inner Game of Tennis. And once again, I learned that this is very specific to my situation because none of the colleagues I interviewed had to use these kinds of methods or mindset or meditation, whatever you want to call it. They all told me when they go on stage, it's always the same. They just play the music and they get into their role when they are on stage. But if you too feel like a totally different person on stage sometimes, or at least feel like you have to have an entirely different role inside the band, then I hope you feel heard and my tips can help you. It's all about detachment, not feeling attached to one's own feelings, to the circumstances, or to problems. If a problem arises, it's not the end of the world. Maybe it isn't even a problem for you. If you today don't have the time or no quiet space to do your warm-up routine, it does not mean it has to be a bad performance. Maybe it can also be an exceptionally good performance. And also trying to get the focus away from oneself as a person, because if you're on stage, it's not about you. It's about the music. Focus on the music. Enjoy the music. Play the music. Be the music. Then I hope you too can lose yourself in the music, which is an amazing feeling. So, if you encountered yourself what I was talking about today or not, I hope this video helped you. If you have more tips and methods on how to get into the right mindset, how to abandon this control mindset, then please write it in the comments below. It would be wonderful to hear from you so we can learn from each other. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so and activate the notification bell as well, because there are new videos coming out every Thursday and topics like these and others. Hope to see you in the next one. Take care and bye bye.